say, that's right, this is the great church, all the others are mediocre. Get it? Another?
Yeah.
Ha, ha, ha. Thank you. Boy, got a tough crowd here. I better not lose my day job. Anyway, I want you to see the inside of the church. Now, this has gone through some renovation. Where those two curtains are used to be shrines. On this side over here is where Our Lady was, and on this side used to be St. Joseph. For some reason, they moved them. This is closer up. This is tabernacle is right in the center of the church. So you see the sanctuary lights. Those used to be a lot higher than I remember, so they brought them down lower. I'm glad that they did that. It's to alert you where the real presence is. But this is Our Lady. They moved her shrine off to the side. Now, some of you may or may not remember the story I told that in my process of converting, one of the things that happened that I felt very moved to do was to accept Mary as my spiritual mother. And I remember I was driving around after doing a lot of this research, and I just felt prompted, I don't know how better to describe it, just felt prompted to go back to the church and to ask Our Lady to be my mother. Like I had asked Jesus to be my personal Lord and Savior. And so I did, and it was in front of this image that I did it. So she has a very special connection to me.
Are you still a student at this time?
Yes.
So you're studying something else, really, but you're
Right.
searching.
Yes. The year that I graduated from Biola was the same year that I got confirmed.
Were you argumentative at all?
Well, you would have to ask my friends. A lot of them would say yes. They probably would have said that I was, yeah.
Yeah.
Put it this way, my reputation in my Bible study was that my nickname was the Bible Answer Man. Anyone who had a question would come to me.
Well, that's good.
It was. I wore it as a badge of honor. Some of my friends in my the Christian Ed department that I knew would say I was stubborn and opinionated.
True.
And I would say, I don't consider it opinionated unless it's wrong. So tell me where I'm wrong. Go.
You're asking me?
No, I'm just saying, that was my approach.
No.
And it was interesting, when I finally told my Bible study leader that I was converting, I came prepared with a lot of the material that I was covering, thinking that they were going to try and convince me out of it. And they didn't. No one dared say anything to me because they knew me better.
Because they know you come prepared.
Yeah. And it was interesting. My Bible study leader said, Chip, I know you. And I know you don't make quick decisions. This is something that you've obviously been researching and studying. I said, oh yes. And he said, I see you as ministering in the church in a particular niche that is greatly needed in the Catholic Church. Go and be well. It was a very nice acceptance of it. And I was very appreciative of it. I continued to go to that Bible study for about a year after I converted because I'd known the people so well and they'd known me. And so that was very nice, I have to say. I somewhat missed that connection, that intimacy that I had with them. This is the inside of St. Greg's. One of the things I love about St. Greg's is that these are the stations of the cross. Above each station is a stained glass window of a saint. And I remember when I would do the stations, At the end of each of the prayers, I would ask the saint above them to pray for me at each of the stations. I miss that so much. I have not found another parish like this that had these stained glass saints.
Saint Robert Bellarmine.
Has this kind of model?
Yeah.
The saints, no.
The saints, yes. Yes.
Stained glass windows above
Yeah,
each of the
saints.
stations of the cross?
Around the church. All
Oh
over.
man, I'll have to go check that out. Because I love what this taught me. One of the things that I loved about this is that I saw these saints, like imagine them above there, okay? And I always, when I did the Stations of the Cross, the thing that came to my mind was that we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses that we should run this race with patience. Always looking to Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith. And so all of these face the front where the tabernacle is. And what they are like in an arena, looking down on us in the Colosseum, if you will, running a race, and they're in the grandstands cheering us on. And how do we get there? Is by the way of the cross. That's what separates us from the saints, is the way of the cross. So it had such a rich, I want to say symbolism, but I don't know how better to describe it. There's this rich art and beauty to this that I just love this meditation. Do you hear what I'm saying? Is that by doing the way of the cross, we get ourselves to the saints, and they're in the grandstands looking at us, cheering us on the race that they themselves had gone through themselves. And it was just beautiful, and it's all focused on Jesus, who is in the tabernacle. Here's some of the saints. Saint John Vianney, Saint Anthony, Saint Bernadette. So I just wanted to share with you this beautiful parish. This is where I got confirmed in. Yeah, this is my confirmation parish.
The great church.
The great church. Not the mediocre one. The great church. Don't accept any imitations. The great church, that's right. Now this, I had to end with this, and I will end, believe it or not. This is just a little sharing. You wonder where I keep talking about these places. You know, this is where there's real places. This is the Good Shepherd Catholic Bookstore. When I first started my investigation, I knew of this bookstore. This is in Whittier. Actually, they moved to La Habra. And it was run by a dear, sweet little old lady that was in there. She's since passed away, I found. I found out from the owners of the shop that she had passed away 3 years previous. So I missed her that way. But when I went in there, it's where I bought my first books on Catholicism to study, to convert. So this is a very important part of my conversion. Oh, several books. The two books that I would say that were most influential to me when I was converting were Catholicism and Fundamentalism by Carl Keating. Still, you can buy that. It's a great book to go over Catholic doctrine to an evangelical Protestant. Catholicism versus Fundamentalism, or the other way around, Fundamentalism versus Catholicism, by Carl Keating. That's one. The second book that was very influential to me was Evangelical is Not Enough by Thomas Howard. And when he initially wrote the book, it was his journey out of evangelical Christianity into Anglicanism. And the book is focused mostly on going from Bible-based Christianity to a liturgical-based Christianity as being more biblical. At the end, there's an epilogue where it shows that he's gone from Canterbury to Rome. He finally made the final leap and went from Anglicanism to Catholicism. A lot of evangelicals go that route, I notice. They'll convert to Anglicanism or Episcopalianism first, and then they make the next step and come home to Rome. It's a very reluctant, but they do it. Okay. So those, I would say, were the two most influential books in my process of converting. And I still recommend them to anyone who is searching. So anyway, that's just a little bit of me for you.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Did you have a friend who worked with, who was as interested with you, or were you
Nope.
just a
Nope.
solitary?
Just me. All my other friends, they stuck with me to a certain point, and then as I moved off of Whittier, when I moved to North Hollywood, I lost contact with them. So a lot of them just was, I had one friend in particular that he was a very close friend of mine. I was a groomsman in his wedding. When I told him I was converting, he thought I was nuts. He wouldn't engage me, and he basically just cut me off after he got married. And I thought that was very sad. Because it was like, you can't engage me, if you're so right, then tell me where I'm wrong. And they wouldn't do it. No one would engage me.
That's his love.
You know. So I lost some friends because of this, but I gained.
You gained
I gained the church. Yes.
You gained us.
And us. And we gained you. You.
So anyway,
Did anybody go to Biola for just a liberal arts or
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
music? Or, I know somebody that this would have been way before you. Two people that went to Biola.
Yeah.
One was in theater and one was in music.
yeah, oh yeah. I knew a lot of music majors, art majors, nursing, business, and Bible were probably one of the biggest majors that there were. That and intercultural studies. People who wanted to be missionaries, there was a special major that you could have at Biola. It was called Intercultural Studies and World Missions. Very interesting. I took one class from that. It was really intriguing how to talk cross-culturally with the gospel. Very interesting. A lot of people that were studying to be missionaries, to go abroad, took intercultural studies. And it's still a major there. Hey. So,
Have you converted anyone to Catholicism?
have I? Not me personally. No, I have not. I've been a sponsor a couple of times, but no, I have not personally converted anyone. For one, I don't do the converting, it's the Holy Spirit. But I know what you mean.
Yeah. The physical.
Yeah. So, just a little trip down that way. Let's see how far we can get into our scripture study tonight. First of all, what's the theme of the Bible?
This was that we may believe that Jesus is Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have life in his name.
Where is that found?
John 20:31.
Very good. John 20:31. These are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have life in his name. That is the theme of the Bible. I've spoken about Pope Pius XII, and in my research, I had to share at least one other thing other than Humani Generis with you. His encyclical, Divino Afflante Spiritu, very powerful encyclical. It's the encyclical on the promoting of biblical studies, commemorating the 50th anniversary of Provendissimus Deus, which was written by Pope Leo XIII. in, I believe, 1898. I believe. Okay? Divino Afflanto Spiritu was written in 1943. Okay? And all I want to go over is the first verse of this. Inspired by the divine spirit, the sacred writers composed those books, which God, in his paternal charity towards the human race, deigned to bestow on them the order to teach, to reprove, to correct, to instruct in justice, that the man of God might be perfect, furnished in every good work. That's the first line of Divino Afflanto Spiritu. That the reason and purpose of the Bible and who wrote it. God wrote it. Why? Out of charity, out of his love towards the human race, to teach us, reprove us, correct us, instruct us in justice, that we may be perfect in every good work. Let's not forget that's what the Bible is here for. I love this. This heaven-sent treasure Holy Church considers as the most precious source of doctrine on faith and morals. Did you hear that? The Bible is not a Protestant book, my brothers and sisters. It is our book. It is all Christians' book. We need to know this. No wonder, herefore, that as she received it intact from the hands of the apostles, so she kept it with all care, defending it from every false and perverse interpretation, and used it diligently as an instrument for securing the eternal salvations of souls. Did you hear that? This is used for the eternal salvation of our souls. Well, I could have told you that. Why? These are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and that believing you may
Have life in his name.
That's exactly what this says. Doesn't it? That's why we have this. I'm not going to read the rest of it. I'm just teasing you with this verse. This entire encyclical is